So this guy is a guy named Bob McKim, and he was a creativity researcher in the 60s and 70s, and also led the Stanford design program. And in fact, my friend and IDEO founder David Kelly, who's out there somewhere, studied under him at Stanford. And he liked to do an exercise with his students where he got them to take a piece of paper and draw the person sat next to them, their neighbor, very quickly, just as quickly as they could. And in fact, we're going to do that exercise right now. You all have a piece of cardboard and a piece of paper. It's actually got a bunch of circles on it. I need you to turn that piece of paper over. You should find it's blank on the other side. Okay? And there should be a pencil. And I want you to pick somebody that sat next to you. And when I say go, you've got 30 seconds to draw your neighbor, okay? So, everybody ready? Okay? Off you go. You've got 30 seconds. You better be fast. Come on, those masterpieces. Okay, stop. All right, now, yes, lots of laughter. Yeah, exactly. Lots of laughter, quite a bit of embarrassment. Am I hearing a few sorries? I think I'm hearing a few sorries. Yeah, I think I probably am. No, and that's exactly what happens every time you do this with adults. And McKim found this every time he did it with his students, he got exactly the same response. Lots and lots of sorries. And he would point this out as evidence that we fear the judgment of our peers, and that we're embarrassed about kind of showing our ideas to people we think of as our peers, to those around us. And this fear is what causes us to be conservative in our thinking. So we might have a wild idea, but we're afraid to share it with anybody else. Okay, so if you try the same exercise with kids, they have no embarrassment at all. They just quite happily show their masterpiece to whoever wants to look at it. But as they learn to become adults, they become much more sensitive to the opinions of others, and they lose that freedom, and they do start to become embarrassed. And in studies of kids playing, it's been shown time after time that kids who feel secure, who are in a kind of trusted environment, they're the ones that feel most free to play. And if you're starting a design firm, let's say, then you probably also want to create a place where people have the same kind of security, where they have the same kind of security to take risks, maybe have the same kind of security to play. Before founding IDEO, David said that what he wanted to do was to form a company where all the employees are my best friends. Now, that wasn't just self-indulgence. He knew that friendship is a shortcut to play. And he knew that it gives us a sense of trust, and it allows us then to take the kind of creative risks that we need to take as a designer. And so that kind of decision to work with his friends, now he has 550 of them, was what got IDEO started. And our studios, like I think many creative workplaces today, are designed to help people feel relaxed, familiar with their surroundings, comfortable with the people that they're working with. I mean, it takes more than decor, but I think we've all seen that creative companies do often have symbols in the workplace that remind people to be playful, and that it's a permissive environment. So whether it's this microbus meeting room that we have in one of our buildings at IDEO, or at Pixar, where the animators work in wooden huts and decorated caves, or at the Googleplex, where it's famous for its volley beach ball courts and even this massive dinosaur skeleton with pink flamingos on it. Don't know the reason for the pink flamingos, but anyway, they're there in the garden. Or even in the Swiss office of Google, which perhaps has the most wacky ideas of all. And my theory is that's so that the Swiss can prove to their Californian colleagues that they're not boring. So they have the slide, and they even have a fireman's pole. Don't know what they do with that, but they have one. So all of these places, have these symbols. Why do we have them? Well, as I said, we have them because we think maybe playfulness is important. But why is it important? We use it in a pretty pragmatic way, to be honest. We think playfulness helps us get to better creative solutions, helps us do our jobs better, and helps us feel better when we do them. Now, an adult encountering a new situation, when we encounter a new situation, we have a tendency to want to categorize it just as quickly as we can. And there's a reason for that. We want to settle on an answer. Life's complicated. We want to figure out what's going on around us very quickly. I suspect actually that the evolutionary biologists probably have lots of reasons why we want to categorize new things very, very quickly. I mean, one of them might be, when we see this funny stripy thing, is that a tiger just about to jump out and kill us, or is it just some weird shadows on the tree? We need to figure that out pretty fast. At least we did once. Most of us don't need to anymore, I suppose. This is some aluminum foil, right? You use it in the kitchen. That's what it is, isn't it? Of course it is. Of course it is. Well, not necessarily. Kids are more engaged with open possibilities. Now, they'll certainly, when they come across something new, they'll certainly ask, what is it? Of course they will. But they'll also ask, what can I do with it? And, the more creative of them might get to a really kind of interesting example. And this openness is the beginning of exploratory play. Any parents of young kids in the audience? Must be some. Yeah, thought so. So we've all seen it, haven't we? We've all told stories about how on Christmas morning, our kids end up playing with the boxes far more than they play with the toys that are inside them. And from an exploration perspective, this behavior makes complete sense because you can do a lot more with boxes than you can do with a toy. Even one like, say, Tickle Me Elmo, which, despite its ingenuity, really only does one thing. Whereas boxes, offer an infinite number of choices. So again, this is another one of those playful activities that as we get older, we tend to forget and that we have to relearn. So another one of Bob McKim's favorite exercises is called the 30 circles test. So we're back to work. You guys are going to get back to work again. You'll turn that piece of paper that you did the sketch on back over, and you'll find those 30 circles printed on the piece of paper. And so it should look like this. You should be looking at something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to adapt as many of those circles as you can into objects of some form. So, example, you could turn one into a football, or another one into a sun. All I'm interested in is quantity. I want you to do as many of them as you can in the minute that I'm just about to give you. So, everybody ready? Okay? Off you go. Okay, put down your pencils, as they say. So who got more than 5 circles figured out? Hopefully everybody. More than 10? Keep your hands up if you did. 10, 15, 20? Anybody get all 30? No? Oh, somebody did. Fantastic. Did anybody do a variation on a theme, like a smiley face, happy face, sad face, sleepy face? Anybody do that? Anybody use my examples? Use the sun and the football? Great, cool. So I was really interested in quantity. I wasn't actually very interested in whether they were all different. I just wanted you to fill in as many circles as possible. And one of the things that we tend to do as adults, again, is we edit things. We stop ourselves from doing things. We self-edit as we're having ideas. And in some cases, our desire to be original is actually a form of editing. And that actually isn't necessarily really playful. So that ability just to kind of go for it and explore lots of things, even if they don't seem that different from each other, is actually something that kids do well, and it is a form of play. But it's hard to break our habits, our adult habits. At IDEO we have our brainstorming rules written on the wall, edicts like defer judgment or go for quantity, and somehow that seems wrong. I mean, can you have rules about creativity? Well, it sort of turns out that we need rules to help us break the old rules and norms that otherwise we might bring to the creative process. And we've certainly learned that over time, you get much better brainstorming, much more creative outcomes when everybody does play by the rules. So, playful exploration, playful building, and role play. And those are some of the ways that designers use play in their work. And so far, I kind of admit that this might feel like it's a message just to go out and play like a kid. And to a certain extent, it is. But I want to stress a couple of points. First thing to remember is that play is not anarchy. Play has rules, especially when it's group play. When kids play Tea Party or they play Cops and Robbers, they're following a script that they've agreed to. And it's this co-negotiation that leads to productive play. So remember the sketching task we did at the beginning, the kind of little face, the portrait you did? Well, imagine, if you did the same task with friends but while you were drinking in a pub. But everybody agreed to play a game where the worst sketch artist brought the next round of drinks. That framework of rules would have turned an embarrassing, difficult situation into a kind of a fun game. And as a result, we'd all feel perfectly secure and have a good time. But because we all understood the rules and we agreed on them together. But there aren't just rules about how to play, there are rules about when to play. Kids don't play all the time, obviously. They transition in and out of it. And teachers, good teachers, spend a lot of time thinking about how to move kids through these experiences. And as designers, we need to be able to transition in and out of play also. And if we're running design studios, we need to be able to figure out how can we transition designers through these different experiences. I think this is particularly true if we think about this sort of what's very different about design is that we go through these two very distinctive modes of operation. We go through a sort of a generative mode where we're exploring many ideas, and then we kind of come back together again and come back looking for that sort of solution and developing that solution. I think they're two quite different modes, and sort of divergence and convergence. And I think it's probably in the divergent mode that we most need the playfulness. Perhaps in convergent modes, we need to be more serious. And so being able to move between those modes is really, really quite important. So it's where a more nuanced version of a view of play, I think, is required. Because it's very easy to fall into the trap that these states are absolute. You're either playful or you're serious, and you can't be both. But that's not really true. You can be a serious professional adult and at times be playful. It's not an either or, it's an and. You can be serious and play. So to kind of sum it up, we need trust to play, and we need trust to be creative. So there's a connection. And there are a series of behaviors that we've learned as kids and that turn out to be quite useful to us as designers. They include exploration, which is about going for quantity, building and thinking with your hands, and role play, where acting it out helps us both have more empathy for the situations in which we're designing and to create services and experiences that are seamless and authentic. Thank you very much.